Welcome back to Football Picks. This is handsome Howard Kamin, and I'm here with the great, incredible, amazing...
Me?
Kreskin. Kreskin was a magician. This guy's even better than Kreskin. He can pick you football winners like nobody else can in the country. Ben Walderman, Uncle Ben. And last week, Ben, there was a couple of games that were unbelievable, I believe. I mean, games that just you couldn't figure out who was going to win right to the last play of the game. And the game that comes to mind first was definitely the Detroit-Dallas game. And I know a lot of people probably like Detroit at home there. Laying the 3 points. They didn't cover, but they did come back and win the game. Any thoughts on that game?
Well, I didn't play the game last week, Howard, but I did happen to see the end of it, and I didn't watch a lot of the game, to be honest with you, because I had interest in other games. I was watching the games that I have interest in. You know what I'm talking about, right? But I did catch the end of that game. Now, the Dallas Cowboys, I mean, they sort of really blew the game, but you have to give credit to the Detroit Lions for coming back. I mean, most people thought they were dead in the water. Minute left in the game, 60, 70 yards away. Calvin Johnson, unbelievable last week, 336 yards, second highest in NFL history, just Flipper Anderson, I believe. And, I mean, you got to hand it to the Detroit Lions. They're 5-3. That was a big comeback victory for the Detroit Lions last week. Unexpected, the little play at the end of the game, Matthew Stafford, very smart, very savvy. Okay, people thought he was going to spike it, reminiscent of a play many moons ago with Dan Marino.
Yeah, on the sidelines.
Yep, the same thing was on the 1 yard line. He was giving it the old let's spike it. The defense, takes a little, relaxes for a second, maybe
Great
Howard,
call.
and then they go in. Now, if he gets stopped there, Matthew Stafford,
The game's over.
well, the clock could have run out.
Yeah.
And, I think he sort of did that on his own. I don't think the coaches were hip to the program on that particular play.
No,
I think Matthew Stafford took it upon himself.
He got the whole crowd surprised.
He took it upon himself there, Howard,
It worked out.
to take the game in his own
If
hands.
it didn't work out, there'd be a lot of afterthought about that.
It worked out well for the Detroit Lions last week. A lot of people think the Dallas Cowboys are down. Des Bryant was having a little tantrum on the sideline there at the end of that game. So we're going to talk about that in my picks later on. But, yes, a very exciting game, Howard.
Another game which, unfortunately, I picked the loser in that game. They looked good at the first half, but then fell apart in the second half. Was the Dolphin-Patriot game. I mean, here was a game where the Dolphins dominated in the first half. They were up 17-3. New England came back in the second half. Actually, not only won the game, but covered the 6-point spread, won by 10. But there was a controversial play in that game where the whole flow of the game changed. It was when Brady went back to pass. He got sacked. He fumbled the ball. As the Miami guy was diving for the ball, he deflected and it went at 10 yards further downfield. And the ref called it a penalty that he intentionally did that and moved the ball back up, and New England ended up scoring a touchdown.
I do recall that.
The game. Your overall thought on that game? I don't know if you had the Patriots or you had the Dolphins, but for me, I had the Dolphins, and it was a tough one to lose.
Well, I actually had the Patriots in that one.
Okay, so you were happy with the result.
But I do remember that call, and that's a dicey call, okay? It was. And you could see the Miami coaching staff on the sideline. They were just going mental because I think the game was a 3-point game at that point.
Yeah, that was anybody's game.
And I think even though they recovered the ball, New England, they lost about 20 or 20. This happened at around the Miami 40-yard line or something, if I recall correctly. And, they lost about 20 or 25 yards. And they probably would have punted. They would have had a third down or in like 30 yards or something, unlikely to convert. Punt, Miami gets the ball back. It's a 3-point ball game. All of a sudden, they get the ball first down at the 25. It turned into be like a 40-yard penalty with the transpiring of the yardages. And, of course, New England goes in to score and make it a 10-point game, and the spread was, I believe, 7 in the game, and they covered the points. So, yeah, that was a bit of a controversial call, although... they did blow them out in the second half. I think they shut them out in the second half to the tune of 24-0. But the Patriots have not looked good winning their ball games. Okay, Tom Brady passed for 100 yards net. I think he had 125 yards passing, minus 25 sack yardage, 100 yards net passing yards, which is like Tom Brady used to do that in a quarter. Honestly, they're just not the same team. They're running the ball a lot more. They haven't been winning the stats in their ball games. The New England Patriots. And this week they got a really tough task against a tough Pittsburgh defense. But we'll talk about that later when we get to the games. But that was definitely an interesting call and a game-changing play, potentially, in the Miami-New England game.
The final game I want to talk to you about last week, Ben, and it's a team that got off to a horrendous start. They're in a division that they're actually still in it based on their horrendous start. But the New York Giants, I mean, I know they've won 2 games. They beat the lowly Minnesota Vikings. They came back and beat the Eagles in Philadelphia last week as a dog. Is this team back? Are they a team that in the second half of the season, you think they can make a move in the right direction?
Well, the New York Giants, started out horrendous. But they're playing in the NFC East. And this
Anybody
division
can win that
here,
division.
the leader's 500, and the Giants are in last. They're 2-6. Potentially, the New York Giants could still win this division. It's possible.
crazy, it may
What's
seem.
going to win this division? Is 9-7 going to win this? Is 10-6 going to win this division?
Could
Do
be
you think
8-8.
the Dallas Cowboys are going to go 6-2 in their next 8 games? I don't think so. That leads me to believe that 9 wins will probably win this division. So you look at the schedule for the New York Giants. They got Oakland coming up. Still got a game with Dallas, 2 with Washington. Detroit. They do have some harder games against San Diego, Detroit, and Seattle. So I don't think they can win the division still, Howard. No, I don't. But I think that the New York Giants are definitely on the way up. They've got some games coming up. I think they're going to beat the Dallas Cowboys. They played the Dallas Cowboys first week. They got annihilated on national TV. And I think that the Dallas Cowboys, when they go up to New York, are going to have a tough time winning that ball game. But the New York Giants, are not going to win the division, I don't think. It's probably going to be the Dallas Cowboys by default, is what I would say in the NFC East.
Very good. I'm actually surprised. I thought Philly was going to manhandle the Giants last week, and the way the Giants came back, I think they are a team that has a lot to prove, so we shall see in the second half of the season. Folks, don't go away. Coming up is our most important part of the show. This is where you make your money, because you can make a lot of money listening to a guy like Ben, who has the inside edge on the NFL, college football. Don't go away. He'll be back with his 3 great picks for the week. Don't go away. We'll be right back.